The views and opinions expressed on this program are not those of Norfolk State University or WNSB-FM. Thank you for listening.
It's Hampton Roads Voices on Hot 91.
March is Women's History Month, a time to celebrate women and all of our achievements. This year's theme is Visionary Women, Champions of Peace and Nonviolence. Hi, everybody. I'm Benita Adams, and all this month on Hampton Roads Voices, we're going to talk about different topics of interest and importance for women. Today, we'll look at Black women entrepreneurs and the challenges of being a Black business owner. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, Black female-owned businesses are the fastest growing economic force in the U.S. Today, we'll talk to a group of Black female entrepreneurs to learn what it takes to be successful in business, and we want to hear from you, too. Next, on Hampton Roads Voices on Hot 91.
It's Hampton Roads Voices on Hot 91.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Benita Adams, and on Hampton Roads Voices this month, we are celebrating March as Women's History Month. And all this month, we're going to be talking about topics that are of interest, not just to women, but to everyone as well. And today, we're going to talk about Black women entrepreneurs and the challenges of being a Black business owner. And we want to hear from you. Our number is 757-823-9110. 757-823-9110. Are you a Black business owner? Or how important do you feel it is to patronize Black businesses in your own community? So give us a call at 757-823-9110. In studio, we have two guests today. Delcino Miles, she's the president and CEO of the Miles Agency. Delcino, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And we also have in studio Shay Malone. She's the executive director of Families for His Glory Incorporated and a development consultant for His Glory Consulting. Shay, thank you for being here.
I'm glad to be here.
So, ladies, because we're talking about Black women entrepreneurs and the challenges of being a Black business owner, let's go ahead and lay a foundation and talk about your business specifically. Delcino, can you tell us about your business, what you do, and how you got started?
Sure. This year, we've been in business 30 years, believe it or not.
Wow.
The Miles Agency, we're a marketing and PR firm based in Virginia Beach, and we provide community engagement strategies. Most of my clients are public agencies like municipalities, transportation, Hampton Roads Transit, HRT, the bus company or transit company, VDOT, and other public agencies that wish to engage the stakeholders and community, the taxpayers, about their various projects, whether you are widening the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel or there's going to be a major public works project that may be disruptive and you want to make sure that the public is aware. I do that. That's one piece. And the other side of that coin is I like to engage the public, to give them an opportunity to weigh in on what's going on and if policies and actions of government agencies impact their lives, whether that is a road project that may make it easier for them to commute or come and go out of their neighborhoods. Very proud to have worked with the city of Norfolk on the project right down the street from here, the Ohio Creek project, which is going to improve the lives of the residents over in Chesterfield Heights and Grandy Village to mitigate the flooding that's been occurring down there. So that's a quality of life issue, and I'm very passionate about that to make sure those who live here and work here and raise their families here have a good quality of life. And that begins with the government, and everybody has a say. So that's why it's so important to get engaged, and that's why that's been the bulk of my business for the last few years, or decades, I guess. And so that's what we do. And I work with folks here in Hampton Roads as well as in Central Virginia in the Richmond area. So anything involving public projects, public works, education system, or roads and transportation, that's my bread and butter.
Excellent. Shay, tell us about your business, please.
Okay. I was, mine is service-based. I started in 2013 as a life coach, and I developed it into emotional wellness coaching. I found out that a lot of people were continuing to struggle even with therapy, even with medication, because they had trauma based in their childhood that hadn't been addressed. So that's how I started. And then it's developed into focusing more on families and children. That's my background, is education and counseling. And so now we work with parents on development in child rearing practices. I also found out that we do really well with businesses. A lot of small businesses that want to get their name out don't have a very good online presence. And so we very much want to help people be found, be seen, and I think that's part of building a healthy community as well. Mm-hmm. So we're focused on business and parenting under For His Glory Consulting. In 2015, we started a nonprofit, which is the Families for His Glory Consulting, Families for His Glory. And we are currently working on a summer reading program in the state of Virginia and nationwide. The proficient reading rate is under 50%. So 1 in 2 kids isn't really reading and absorbing and able to use the information well and functionally. Mm-hmm. So we're working to change that through our summer reading program, and that's what we're working on at the moment.
Well, it makes so much sense to think about that, because I know that we'll have listeners who are interested in starting businesses who don't know the process of it. And we want to expand the conversation even in terms of patronizing Black businesses. What is it like to be a female-owned business? So if you are a business owner or you're interested in starting a business, or you just really want to tell us your experiences as you have patronized Black businesses, give us a call, 757-823-9110, 757-823-9110. So Delcina, what needs to be in a person's mind, or let me just ask you very specifically, when you decided to start your own business, what were your considerations? What did you have to think? This has to be done, then that has to be done. I can't do it now because of that. Tell us your thinking process.
How I got started?
Yes, when you started.
My DNA is I can't really work for anybody. I'm not a cubicle kind of girl. Well, I started off as a political consultant. And so here in Virginia, for those who may not be listening outside of the area, there's always an election. So I was always busy. Mm-hmm. So every year we're either electing our local government or our state government or the federal government. And so I got started that way. I had a partner. I bought him out in 1995. And so what was going through my mind is I don't want to be all things to all people. That's a mistake. So whoever's out there thinking about starting a business, narrow your focus. Right. Follow your passion, but narrow your focus. Because focus on the quality and delivery of the service. Because you want people to come back. You want them to renew contracts. That's important. And by the way, 100% of my business now is all referral. So, and that's 30 years in the making now. Mm-hmm. So that didn't happen overnight. So what was going through my mind was, what's my brand? What's my service? And so I found this niche. The niche was, having communication services for those public agencies. And many of them, they may have staff that are public affairs officers and that sort of thing, mm-hmm. but still having someone that's already in the community that can be that gateway, that liaison, that advocate for them. And so I found that niche, and that's been very, very, fruitful for me over mm-hmm. the years. So what was going through my mind is to find, I followed my passion. I love communications. I love being with people. And I love being out in the community, and not just for business, but also for community service, because it's important to make sure that not only, that the people, that I work with know who I am, but I need to know them and build those relationships. So what was going through my mind was to continue to cultivate those relationships. So the skill sets that I had, the communications piece, basically was able to apply that to my business and to my community service. And that, to me, it's one and the same. Community service, whether I'm donating my time and my skills or whether I'm being paid to do it, the quality does not diminish even if I'm a volunteer.
See, that's a marvelous piece, and it's important that we talk about that, because sometimes we think it's just, I'm going to make money, I'm going to work for myself, and then I'm going to go on a cruise or something like that. But when you say community service, that's a very important part of being a business owner, to give back. That's right. And those kinds of things. So that's right. Really interesting that you say that. We do have a caller on the line. Caller, we're going to go straight to you. You're live. What is your name, please, and where are you calling from?
Kevin mm-hmm. from Virginia Beach.
Kevin, what is your question or comment, please?
So my comment is, one, it's great to see that we're actually having this conversation. But my comment is that I think as a Black community, I think we, or at least some of us, are hesitant to use Black businesses. Yes. Mm-hmm. Because we see what has happened before in terms of always looking for the hookup, always looking for the the better deal. But when we go to other communities, we don't necessarily look for the better deal. We take them at their price. Mm-hmm. We are a $1.3 trillion just money-making machine. We've seen it with Nike. We've seen it with all sorts of hair products. We've seen it with all sorts of other things. But when it comes to us supporting our own, we don't do it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, and I guess my question and my comment is, why are we looking for hookups within our own instead of supporting our own, instead of being willing to give our dollars to our own and actually allowing that money to circulate back in our communities? And they can help in so many other ways to rebuild and restructure some of our most downtrodden communities, like the Jewish community does, or the Italian community does, or the Chinese community does, or the Filipino community does.
Absolutely.
Why is it we're all willing to go to other communities and spend our hard-earned dollars to try to, quote-unquote, keep up with the Joneses, but we're not willing to spend it with our own black business owners?
Kevin, thank you so much for that call. I appreciate it. And it's so interesting that Kevin is saying that, because that really was where we were headed in the conversation. But since he already broached that subject, Delsina, I'm going to ask you. He says, how come we always want the hookup when it comes to black businesses? Hey, can you hook me up? Can you give me a discount? Can you? Why is that our thinking?
Well, it may be a cultural thing. Mm-hmm. Quite frankly, I don't get a lot of that because of the types of clients that I have. Of course, government wants the best value, best price, that sort of thing. But I think that once you build that value of what you, people respect the fact that you've trained for this, that you've put in the time and the effort, then they need to respect the fact that my price is fair. And sure, I invite you to compare prices. That's fine. But don't expect a double standard. Don't create a double standard for me, just because I'm in the family, if you will. So I really don't have a lot of family discounts. But I think what's important is that people respect and value the services that any black business or small business, any business for that matter, brings to the table. And when we do get that business, we have to deliver.
Yes.
And sometimes I think, was it Kevin? Kevin's question was the fact that sometimes what they pay for may not equal what the expectation was. And so for the business owner, don't devalue that customer either. So I should not give you less because you're black, no more than you should ask for less in terms of pricing because I'm black.
Absolutely. Good thoughts. Now we're going to go to a break, but we want to hear your experiences. Do you patronize black businesses? And do you feel that there is a mindset when it comes to black businesses, as Delsina says, in order to have that quality service, the customer service? What are your experiences? 757-823-9110. This is Hot 91.
Is Hampton Roads Voices. Hot 91.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Benita Adams, and today on Hampton Roads Voices, we're talking about black women entrepreneurs and the challenges of being a black business owner. We have in studio 3 guests today, business owners themselves. Delsina Miles, president and CEO of the Miles Agency. Delsina, again, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Shay Malone, executive director, Families for His Glory Incorporated, and the development consultant for His Glory Consulting. Shay, thank you again.
Glad to be here.
And Arlie Hatcher, now just joining us, owner of Heart to Heart Career Training Center. She's the co-owner also of Peak of Joy 3D Ultrasound and Spa. Arlie, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Arlie, I want to go back just a little bit and I want you to tell our listeners a little bit about your business.
So I am the owner of Heart to Heart Career Training Center and Peak of Joy 3D Ultrasound and Spa. Actually, the co-owner of Peak of Joy 3D Ultrasound and Spa. So Heart to Heart Career Training Center is a fast-track career training program, center. We do nurse aid training, medication aid training, phlebotomy, EKG technician training. We also have a medical assistant program. We teach CPR, ACLS, and BLS training. We do many programs, and that's just to name a few. Our goal is to help busy adult learners to get started in their in fast-track careers. My second business is Peak of Joy 3D, and that is a family business that I own with my mom and my grandfather. And what that business is a ultrasound studio, and we can help moms learn what they're having as early as 9 weeks pregnant.
Wow.
We can tell them what they're having through DNA testing, and that's a quick blood draw, and they can find out as quick as 1 business day, or they can do the 3D ultrasound and find out as early as 16 weeks. They can come in, see their baby on our 100-inch screen, They can get a recording of their baby's heartbeat, and they can put that in a teddy bear and keep it forever. We do prenatal massages and all kinds of fun things for our moms.
Wow, that's amazing. I have to say, I have seen a 3D ultrasound before, and it's nothing like the old days when my kids were little. So that is amazing. So again, we want to hear from you, 757-823-9110. Do you have any questions about being a business owner? If you are a business owner, any challenges that you have? And if you're an African-American business owner, especially female, let's talk about your vantage point. That's 757-823-9110. So let's look at and see if there are any advantages of being a Black-owned female business. Arlie, I'm going to start with you. Is it all the same? Are there any differences? Your perspective on that.
For me, there are some government programs. And, you know, you really have to get into the right circles to really use the benefits. For example, your SWAM certification. That's one thing that you can get as a Black female business owner that can really help you get additional funding and help you get additional resources as a women-owned minority business. That's one of the main things. Another thing with just being a female business owner is that for me, just as a woman, I just feel that it's easier for me to connect with other women, and they just seem to be more likely to support my business just because they see me as a woman that's working hard, and they're naturally like, oh, what are you doing? Okay, well, let's, they want to come to me naturally. So that's one other nice thing about being a woman-owned business.
Shay, what are your experiences of being a Black female-owned business? Any advantages, any differences that you've seen?
I think, like Arlie said, one of the advantages is the opportunities, such as when you're SWAM certified, you might have an advantage with the government positions or government contracting. There are certain set-asides where you're given priority. For me personally, I really enjoy just connecting to other Black businesses. Mm-hmm. Like TCC had a Black Business Expo last Saturday, and we went, or Friday, and we went, and it was very, very fantastic just to see the different people that and types of businesses available to support.
We have a caller on the line. Let's go straight to the phones. Caller, you are live on the air. What is your name, please, and where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Sakara, and I'm calling from Northwest Virginia.
Yes, Sakara, what is your question or comment, please, for our guests?
Well, I am a young entrepreneur, African-American, on ODU's campus with eyelash extensions. So I just wanted to ask if you guys had any good advice for me. So far, business is doing very, very well, being that I'm on the college campus. But if you had any, ideas about how to grow or build more clientele or anything like that.
Great. Sakara, thank you for calling. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Delcia, I'm going to throw that one to you at first. She's young. She's an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. She's African-American. She's a college student. What advice can you give her so far?
To expand her, I think your question was about expanding her business.
It was, in clientele.
Well, let's start with getting referrals from your existing clients. That's always a plus. And you have some sort of incentive for those clients to refer them. Maybe every 2 or 3 referrals, they'll get a free service from her or a discount service from her. Also to network. I can't overemphasize to anyone out there that's either starting a business or still in business to expand your network. Whether join organizations, get your business cards out there, have a presence on social media. It's very, very important to have a presence. You need to be ubiquitous, meaning you have to be everywhere, literally. And I did that when I was younger, where I went to trade shows and conferences and networked and built those relationships. They're not shallow relationships, by the way. Mm-hmm. And just for the young people, the friends on Facebook ain't your real friends. Right. So get you some real friends
real ones.
To assist you with expanding your business. business. So that could be where you sponsor something or volunteer in the community. I'm big on giving back to the community. Volunteer at your church. Volunteer at any nonprofit, the food bank or American Heart Association. Any of those types of organizations, they always are needing volunteers, and provide your services. So I didn't quite hear what her service was. So if
eyelash extension.
Well, eyelashes. For instance, a great way to do that would be maybe she want to partner with the military community. We're huge here. So partnering with some of the military organizations and getting her name out that way. For those who may have limited funds, particularly startups and younger businesses, volunteer your services. And when you volunteer, do a great job as if you were getting paid. So make sure that, because you're showcasing and giving a sample of the type of work that you provide, as well as your work ethic. They're watching you.
They are watching you.
They're watching you. So build those relationships and sustain them. I remember clients' birthdays and anniversaries and special dates and things like that. And so that's what keeps my business top of mind. And of course, delivering good work.
That's
helps.
right. You know, the adage, we've heard it before, that people do business with who they like, know and trust.
That's right.
Absolutely. Arlie, what advice can you give for Sakara?
If I can expand on networking, I would say be sure to one networking group that I joined was Black Brand, and that's actually the local Black Chamber of Commerce that's in this area, and they have so many events around here, and you will meet so many people that can use your services, especially when they have those big events. You have so many ladies that could use a service like your eyelash extensions, and that would just be a great way to promote your business, and word of mouth, that's the big thing. So if you can get in with a few ladies like them, and I could be one of them, that would be a great way to get out there.
That makes so much sense, and I agree with you what both of you are saying. It's that networking. It's connection. I've always said people can't want what you have if they don't know it exists.
Exactly.
I didn't know you did eyelashes. I didn't know you did that. I didn't know you did that. So you've got to get that word out there. Shay, what have your experiences been? We're talking about the importance of networking. How important has that been for your business, Shay?
Oh, networking is probably the top 3 things that you do. Like you said, you're building relationships, and people who know you, when people ask for recommendations, so like Facebook has this thing where you recommend things. People will ask, oh, what's the best place to go get this? Where can I get somebody to do some housework for me? Be in groups on social media where people are gathered that are interested in the same things, and they'll ask questions like that.
They will.
They're looking for people. And so if you're in those groups, if you're in these circles, offline, online, then you'll be the person that is, oh, she does eyelashes. She does a great job. Go over to this person. Businesses live on word of mouth. Chick-fil-A is Chick-fil-A because everybody knows they have some of the best service.
And that is important, which leads into, I want to talk about customer service and how important that is and then we'll lead into talking about marketing. But let me give the number one more time, 757-823-9110. What questions do you have for our entrepreneurs today? Are you interested in starting a business, growing a business, knowing the groups to network with? Give us a call, 757-823-9110. Now, ladies, when I was doing some research to prepare for the show today, it was saying I looked at challenges of Black businesses overall. And one article I read said that customer service seems to be a problem in Black businesses. And sometimes when you have experienced poor customer service in the business, you're not willing to spend your money and you're not willing to go back. Why is that perhaps, Dulcina, a problem? I know that's a very general statement, and it's not, and every business is specific, but they were making a big statement. Why do you think perhaps that might be a problem with our businesses?
Well, let's give the business owner a benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
They're trying to do it all. You need to delegate. So you can't. If accounting's your thing, fine. Then hire someone to do the legal work, someone to do the billing and those kinds of things. When you're a mom and pop or a one person band, it's difficult to focus on everything, and that I believe causes customer service to fail, to suffer, because you're trying to juggle all these balls, and something's going to drop, and usually it's customer service, where they're too slow in responding to a customer complaint or customer concern because they're over here trying to get their taxes done, or they're trying to go and work on a job. I've had that experience where they were overwhelmed, and because they didn't have the staff. Now, some of them is because they may not have the cash flow to pay for that help, but they need to prioritize. The customer comes first. That's who's helping you get those bills paid. Right. So it's important to prioritize and get the help you need. I don't do my own taxes. I do my books. I write my check. I took advice from Oprah. I sign my own checks.
Oprah did say that.
But I don't have a problem hiring good quality help. That frees me up to put more attention and time on my clients, to take care of them, because that's what they hired me to do. They had other options. I have competitors out there, but they chose my firm, and so I'm going to try to earn that trust that they put in me by making sure that I over deliver in what I'm contracted to do.
And sometimes we have to realize, we say a business owner, sometimes a business owner has another job. Yes. Sometimes they have a 9 to 5.
Many times.
And they're trying to do their business or work their business at the same time. So if you can imagine how much work that they do in a day, in a week, in a month, it can be overwhelming.
But Benita, the customer shouldn't have to suffer because you've overcommitted.
Because you've overcommitted.
And quite frankly, they're not going to care.
That's right. They aren't going to care. I remember I had someone, then we'll go to a break in just a moment, and then Shay and Arlene want to come back and get your comments on that. But I had I had hired someone to do my grass once, and I called and texted and called and texted. He said he was coming. I'm coming. Then stopped responding to me. Then after I finally got to him, he said, I can't help it. I'm a single dad and I'm overwhelmed. And I told him, I'm very sorry about that, but you promised to cut my grass. Yeah. And you gave me your word and then you disappeared. I said, please take me off your list. I will no longer use your service. Right. Did I feel sorry for him? Perhaps to some degree, but he said, I am a business owner. I cut grass. I will be there. And then you're not. There are competitors, and we'll talk a lot about that. So give us a call, 757-823-9110. This is Hampton Roads Voices on Hot 91.
Is Hampton Roads Voices on Hot 91.
If you're just joining us, I'm Benita Adams, and today on Hampton Roads Voices, we're talking about Black women entrepreneurs and the challenges of being a Black-owned business. We have Delcina Miles, President and CEO of the Miles Agency, Shay Malone, Executive Director of Families for His Glory, and Arlie Hatcher, owner of Heart to Heart Career Training Center and the co-owner of Peak of Joy 3D Ultrasound and Spa. Now, right before we took our break, we were talking about customer service and how important it is, especially as a Black-owned business, to have stellar customer service. Arlie, I'm going to ask you your experiences in terms of a business owner. How important is customer service for you and your clients?
Customer service is absolutely number one, and I'm going to use this time to give a shameless plug for Peak of Joy and Heart to Heart, because our reviews are absolutely wonderful, and that's because our customer service is at its absolute best. Is number one. That's the goal, is for us to have happy customers, happy students, and for them to have great outcomes when they leave our business. When you were talking about earlier about customer service and why sometimes Black businesses can kind of suffer in that area, I think it's because many Black businesses start off underfunded. Because I don't know if it's because sometimes we don't know how to get funding, or we just don't have the funding that our counterparts may have. So when you start off underfunded, you have to start off being many things in your business. You don't always start off with a receptionist and, an accountant and the person who is, actually doing the service. I remember when I first started my school, I was literally answering the phones, teaching the classes. I had a student one time. She was like, so I called and you answered the phone and I came in and you registered me and now I'm in class and you're the teacher. Me. So
it's like, what is this?
So who else works here? I was like, You got me.
It's me. Right.
I mean, of course, that was many, many years ago. And hey, Tamaya. And, of course, all that has changed. That's been, 7 years ago now. But in the beginning, it does start off that way, and it can be difficult to maintain everything at 100%. So in this day and age with so much social media, it's so easy to have the slightest, bad experience and go straight to social media and just blast the business. Oh, I had this bad experience. So such and such happened. But I would like to challenge everybody to, if you have a bad experience with a black business, a fellow black business, instead of going straight to social media and saying, oh, this was so awful, why don't you go to the business owner, give them the opportunity to resolve it and try to fix it with them before you go and blast it to everybody, because you don't know what that person is going through. You don't know how it can be fixed. 9 times out of 10, the business owner is willing to go above and beyond to fix it, to make you happy before, their reputation gets ruined over one small mishap.
And that really is important. And Delsina, I think you mentioned that you've got to correct it. You have to go back and say, yes, I did drop the ball. I should have gotten back with you within a day or so, and I did not. I apologize. How can I make this right for you? What can I do for you? And that's very important. So we're going to go to the phones. We have a caller on the line. Caller, what is your name, please, and what is your question?
My name is Xin Yiqi. I'm in English 285 class, and my question is, how many percentage of women-owned business in America?
Say that one more time. How many female-owned businesses are there in America, are you saying?
What's the percentage of women-owned business in America?
Okay, great. Thank you for calling. We appreciate that. And she called at 757-823-9110. Now, I don't actually have those numbers at hand, but I do know as I was researching it, the information was telling us that according to the U.S. Census Bureau, black female-owned businesses are the fastest growing businesses in the economy force in the U.S. Now, I do know that. And so we do understand that there are so many women of all ages, all walks of life, starting businesses. And that is important for us to know, because we're talking about networking and connecting with others. And we know absolutely there are many, many black-owned businesses and women-owned businesses out there. And so I think that's important. So thank you for asking and calling in with that question. Now, Shay, your experiences, your thoughts on customer service and how important it is. And I don't want to labor the point, but I know how important this is. Shay.
My background is actually in customer service.
Interesting.
When I was in college, I started doing customer service, and I loved it. I've done mostly by phone, but I taught it. I was a customer service agent. I was also a quality assurance agent, so I was scoring other people's customer service. So I'm very, very, very critical. When I don't get good customer services, I boycotted a couple of companies.
Oh my goodness, you are serious.
Oh, no. Kmart and Sears, never again.
Never again.
Never
Okay.
again. But I think part of what happens, too, with black businesses is a couple of things. Is part not really understanding what goes into a business. So like we've been talking about, a lot of times when you're starting a business especially, you're kind of doing everything. But I think there's a lack of education about what goes into building a business. So when we go into Dollar Tree is a huge corporation. When we're buying from Nike, that's a huge corporation. Whereas if you go into a locally owned business, that may have just started within the last year or two, or they're still newer and they don't have the same resources and support. I've had bad customer service in every demographic, in every sector of business. It's not unique to black businesses. Mm-hmm. And I think we give ourselves an unfair shake when we say, oh, black businesses give bad customer service. Everybody gives bad customer service.
Absolutely.
You've been in black businesses that have given fantastic customer service. And if you haven't, it means you're not going to enough black businesses.
That is so well put, because you're right. It goes across the board. But Delsina, and something that Shay said that I found interesting is we go to this conglomerate, this gigantic company, and we are a one-woman band, as it were. Should we, and I don't really want to use the word compare, but as we're learning about business and growing and trying to find out how to do it, should we look at someone who's very much like us, a smaller business, or should we look at the larger business and say that's where I want to go and these are all the components to it?
Actually, there are free services out there through the Chamber of Commerce. You have the Small Business Development Center. They can assist you with that. There's training out there. So it may be an issue of an awareness because there are programs out there that can provide that sort of service. I think of the Minority Business Council. I used to chair that. I was on that board for a while in Virginia Beach. Where they have expos that can help you, assist you with networking, with building up your skill set, whether it's marketing, whether it's customer service. So there are services out there. So research those and to find out who offers training for free. So I understand that Arlie was saying that sometimes it's a cash flow issue. I get that when you're a small business, but there are services out there that can augment your business for free. So take advantage of those. I understand that not everybody's aware of those. So that's one of the reasons I was so happy to jump at the opportunity to be on your show to share that information. So the Small Business Development Center is under the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce, and it's and they have another organization called SCORE, and that's retired business executives who give of their time and they're volunteers and they assist small businesses with any of their challenges that they may have in managing and running and growing their business.
That point is so well taken because sometimes we say, well, as a young woman mentioned, Sakara, she mentioned I'm a college student and so forth. And so we know that she probably doesn't have a lot of money, but you're emphasizing that there are organizations and resources that cost nothing, that you could get the knowledge that you absolutely need.
And that's right. And I think one part of your question is about having someone that you could, an aspirational model.
Yes.
That find a mentor that is where you want to be, someone that you can trust, someone that will be honest with you and not just be a yes person. Get someone out there who's seasoned and successful in the arena that you're in, whatever that industry is, and see if that person's willing to mentor you. Everything from managing your taxes to what processes need to be in place for hiring. There are laws out there you have to follow, just the tax laws, employment laws, fair employment laws, all those kinds of things. So find someone that's where you want to be, so that's in an aspirational position that's willing to mentor you and spend time with them and take full advantage of that and cultivate that relationship.
Absolutely. And as a business owner, 757-823-9110, did you have a mentor? Have you been a mentor? And how important is that to you? 823-9110. Arlie, as you were growing your businesses, starting and growing your businesses, how did you have a mentor, or did you look at other companies as an example?
As I was growing my business, I did not have a mentor at first, probably not for the first maybe 2 or 3 years. I got a mentor later on into the game, and that really pretty much exploded my business to get someone to finally start regularly speaking to someone who had a business that was further along than mine was, who had been doing what I wanted to do. That meant everything. Not to get a mentor to, encourage me and say, oh, girl, keep on going, keep doing it. No, you need someone who is experienced in your field, who can help you really move along in what you're specifically trying to do.
Now, let me ask you, because I actually went to an event once, and it was for business women. They were talking about how to get a mentor. So we're going to go to break very soon, but how did you find your mentor? And once you found him or her or them, how did you ask them to be your mentor, or did they suggest that? Because that was a very important question with a lot of business women owners that I was in the room with. So how did you find your mentor, and who initiated that relationship?
I actually reached out to her on social media, and it wasn't even a formal request for her to be a mentor, because at the time I didn't even really know that I needed that. I knew that she was a person that I looked up to and I admired. I thought that she was doing something great with her business, and I wanted to connect with her. So I sent her a message, and it was so long. I made sure that my spelling was perfect. It was so nice. And she responded back, call me.
Wow.
After I sent this so long message. So once, we spoke on the phone, and then we just maintained a relationship for years and years after that. And I've been a mentor for many people after that because she was so welcoming to me from that first encounter.
And Shay, I don't know if you've had the experience of having a mentor, but let me ask it this way for you. What is it sometimes that a person hesitates from finding a person who can really mentor them or help them in their quest to be a great business owner? What are some of their hesitations?
So I can share my hesitation.
Okay.
I have not had a mentor, and it's because until recently I hadn't found somebody that I identified with.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, and so I think that's part of it. Just feeling like you're in a very unique position. A lot of times we think we're the only one that has has the situation we have, but when you reach out and you start talking to people and you start getting to know people, and this goes back to the networking too, and again, whether online or offline, you'll start finding people who are more like you, who are where, like the point of mentoring is to find someone who's where you want to be. And I've finally met somebody, and I'm like, yes, I definitely want to pursue the opportunity to find out how she got to where she's going. One thing that was super encouraging was hearing her talk about the path to get there. Because while she's very successful now, it wasn't always that way. And so that's very encouraging for someone like me who's still very early on in the business process.
And that's what we need to hear. We need someone to say, don't do this, do this,
Yeah.
or this is how I did it. Now, we're going to go to a break, but on the other side, we want to hear more about that and your perceptions of Black-owned businesses. Do you patronize them? And have you found a mentor if you're a business owner? Our number 757-823-9110. This is Hot 91.
Is Hampton Roads Voices. Hot 91.
Welcome back, everybody. Today on Hampton Roads Voices, we're continuing our conversation about Black women entrepreneurs and the challenges that we face as Black business owners. Delsina Miles, President and CEO of the Miles Agency, continues with us, as well as Shay Malone, Executive Director of Families for His Glory. And we have the owner of Heart to Heart Career Training Center and Peak of Joy 3D Ultrasound and Spa, Arlie Hatcher. Now, we've been talking about customer service, but let's move into talking about what it takes to stay competitive in this market. Delsina, you were talking about being ubiquitous. I love that word. I didn't say it well, but I do like that word, that you have to be everywhere. What does it take, especially for the small business owner, to be competitive?
Well, we've been saying it all along. Good customer service.
Okay.
Fair pricing. And also, let's take out the word competitive for a second.
Okay.
I work with other agencies. We team up and pursue business together.
Excellent.
So collaboration is important too. Because sometimes we were talking about customer service challenges. Sometimes you may be too small, but go out there and partner with someone so you can expand that bandwidth in terms of the types of service that you can offer and the amount of service that you can manage. So I don't really look at it as competition in that way. So I work with others in the community and in my field all the time. And so we may alone, maybe we can't compete for a particular job, but together we're fierce. So I like to focus on that. So look for those who are in your industry that you trust, that have the same commitment to excellence as you do.
Yes. And
go after those opportunities. That's very, very important. So because so often we feel that we got to do something on our own, and 100% of zero is still zero.
Yes, it
I'd
is.
rather give up 50% of something than have all of nothing. So that it's very important to look for those collaborative opportunities with others that are in your field that you can pursue, or maybe they have a different type of skill set that you don't, that can enhance your team and go after those types of business opportunities.
I heard a business owner say once that collaboration is the new currency.
It is.
And so we don't have to be afraid, okay, if I join with this other organization, they're going to take mine. No, you said 0 of 0. So and it does enhance, but the important part that you said, that they have the same work ethic, that they have the same
Very
commitment to excellence.
Yes.
Because that's your brand that is connected to their brand. That's very
correct.
important.
It's very important. So it has to be someone that you perhaps either you're aware of the type of business or you've worked before. I'd like to give a shout out to one of my friends and colleagues, is Barbara Ham Lee. She and I worked together for years, and we're both in marketing and media, but we do have different skill sets. She's a media genius, and mine is community grassroots stuff. She does that too, but we come together and we successfully go after contract opportunities. I don't look at her as competition in that sense. I look at her as a colleague. So I don't see it that way. I see it, what are some ways that we can work together and go after this piece of business together? So that's the spirit that I have. That's what I bring to it. I don't say, well, you're competition, I can't work with you. That's foolishness.
That is.
Because it's a global economy now. And so America is competing with the world, not just Texas isn't competing with California, and everybody wanted the Amazon headquarters.
Oh, yes, they did. did.
So you see how much people collaborated to get that? So it wasn't just Northern Virginia. It was UVA. It was the governor. It was the whole Commonwealth came together to land that contract. That's how it has to work.
It does. And Arlie, I know that as the co-owner of Peak of Joy 3D Ultrasound and Spa, you mentioned that you are in business with your mother, and who else did you say? Your grandfather?
My grandfather.
That's what I thought. And so tell us about your experiences. That's a form of collaboration, absolutely. So tell us about your experiences with something like that.
As far as collaborating with my family?
Your family or any other businesses?
Oh, so the way that Peak of Joy collaborates, we collaborate with lots of other OBGYN offices, local hospitals, doulas, any other professionals who work with pregnant women. We are looking to collaborate and partner with them. I recently, what was she called? Health. I don't know if I can say the word. A enthusiast. She's a vaginal health enthusiast.
Okay.
And we collaborated with her for Peak of Joy 3D. So any ways that we can to educate our moms, that's what we're looking for.
I love that. 757-823-9110 is the number that you could call to ask any of our business owners any questions about your business, anything about customer service in terms of African American businesses, or questions about what does it take to run a successful business. 757-823-9110. Now, Shay, how important is it to have a team to work with? Even if it's a team of one, a team of two, how important is it to have a team to move your business forward?
It's very, very, very important. My business is service-based, and it's me. But when I started, I had a friend who was starting her business at the same time, and we met weekly. We called ourselves TBA, for Tiny Business Association. And, I mean, we bounce ideas off each other. We get feedback. We share services. Just having somebody in the trenches with you is amazing, because and I think a lot of people look to their family and friends for support, but unless your family and friends are also entrepreneurs or business owners, they're not going to get it.
They don't get it.
They're not going to get it. And so you need somebody who's on the same page. Now, with the nonprofit, you can't have a nonprofit without people. And so I'm partnering with people left and right. I had a meeting yesterday with a friend who's working with another agency through another program, because they're looking for resources. And that's how you serve the community. Even before I was in business, when I was working as a counselor, in-home counselor, I didn't understand competition, because if these kids need help, then why aren't we all trying to help as many kids as possible? Why aren't we trying to help as many families as possible? And you can't do that if you're trying to cut other people out.
So, Docino, how does a business owner pick their team? you alluded to that a little bit, if you staff to your weakness or something like that. But how does one pick their team?
From all that networking that I've been doing for 30 years, I've gained quite a few strong relationships over the years, and so I've picked them through working with them, and sometimes in the community. Maybe it's not in the for contracted services realm, but it could be community service. I've observed their work ethic. I've observed how they interact with others. So it's over time building those relationships that I alluded to earlier. So that's how I pick them. And then once we have that relationship, and I trust that they can come in this relationship honestly and with the same work ethic and commitment to excellence that I have, and it's been successful for me. So they're friends. Their colleagues. So again, I don't look at them as competitors as much as just potential partners in pursuing new business. I'm a capitalist.
You said, let me just say this on the radio.
Let me just put it out there. I'm a capitalist.
I'm a good show. So if you thought I wasn't, now you know, right?
Exactly. So there's no red team or blue team. It's the green team.
It's the green team.
So,
yes, it is.
That doesn't mean that that's the highest priority, but then you have to look at your bottom line and be careful there. But for the most part, how can we make money together? How can we build something stronger together than apart? And what does the community or the customer need that we can give them as a team?
Absolutely.
And so the same thing. So like you and I have known each other for years, and so I've admired you when you were doing traffic,
right?
And so I admired your demeanor. So I would not hesitate saying, Benita, here's an opportunity. What would you think working together? That's because I've known you over time, and I suggest that even for the newer entrepreneurs or those who haven't started yet, find someone that you trust, that you can work with, and who brings something to the table that may be a little bit different than you don't. Maybe they're good with numbers, or maybe they're creative and can do graphic design or those kinds of things. And then start off with a smaller project, and then if it really works, then you can expand and go after bigger opportunities.
I love that. We have a caller on the line. Caller, you're live on the air. What is your question or comment, and your name and where you're calling from, please?
My name is Barbara. I'm calling from Norfolk.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask Ms. Miles if she's ever faced either racism or sexism in terms of not receiving a position.
Thank you for that softball question.
Thank you, Barbara, so much for the question.
Perhaps more sexism. I haven't really felt the racism piece. And that was when I was younger, because I felt that, the good old boys they're still alive and well. But go back 20, 30 years ago, where there weren't maybe as many women in business as there are now. And so I felt that I had to truly prove myself. I give you an example, even with the chamber, the chamber's over 200 years old at that time, and there were only 2 women who had been chair. Wow. And so I knew they weren't just going to let me be chair. I went and said, I want to be chair. So you have to be assertive. You don't have to lose your femininity, but you have to be assertive and speak up and step up when your time comes. So when it was time for me to become chair, I raised the bar. And at the time, I was the first African American to be chairman of the chamber, the regional chamber of commerce. And so there was still a lot of firsts here in 2019. I'm not proud of the fact that I was first. I'm proud of the fact that I can bring in some more behind me.
Absolutely.
And so whether that's being chairman of the aquarium, so I'm looking for some more. I'm the first African American chair of the aquarium. So I'm looking to bring in more who, again, have the same work ethic and can bring some value to the organization.
Absolutely. And Arlie and Shay, I'm going to throw that same question to you, even though Barbara mentioned it for Delsina. Racism, sexism. I'll start with you, Arlie.
Excuse me. So I'm a registered nurse by trade. So that's a predominantly female profession. So I can't say that I've experienced sexism. Most of my jobs, you normally hire females as nurses. And racism, I can't really say that I have experienced racism either as a registered nurse. I can say that people have been quite surprised when they've come into my business and realized that I'm the owner. I've definitely had people come to me and say, where's the boss?
Where's the boss? That's interesting.
But, not overt racism, like they are not going to choose, my business, not to my face anyway. Like they're not going to choose my business because it's Black owned.
Interesting. Shay, your experiences?
I'm in the same boat as Arlie. I haven't directly experienced anything. service-based, working in mental health and education. I don't think it's uncommon to have Black females in those areas. I do wonder sometimes if, so for example, I've had a couple of times where I've asked or actually tried to have people be part of events and they fell through and never followed up. So that's in the back of my mind, but it's not, I can't say, yes, that's what happened.
Now, Arlie, do you feel that female business owners are given the same respect as male business owners, no matter what their ethnicity is?
I feel that we have to prove our, I think we have to kind of prove our salt a little bit more than a man would. I feel that people will respect a female business owner, but only after they see, what she's done. Like if I come into the room and say, hey, I'm a business owner, they need to know that, yes, I own 2 businesses. I've written 2 books. I'm a public speaker. They need to know all of these things before they can say, oh, so you're a business owner. Oh, a business owner.
Oh, like a real one.
Like a real one.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay. I understand what you're saying then. Interesting. Now, what have your experiences been in terms of, I'm asking our listeners, 757-823-9110, 757-823-9110. If you are female business owners, have you had to prove your salt? Have you had to prove that you're just as good as the boys? We'll put it that way. Give us a call, 823-9110. This is Hot 91.
Is Hampton Roads Voices. Hot 91.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Benita Adams, and we're talking about Black women entrepreneurs and the challenges of being a Black business owner. We want to hear from you today, 757-823-9110. What are your experiences in terms of patronizing Black businesses? Do you own a Black business? And how have your experiences been? And customer service and so forth, 757-823-9110. Now, it was very interesting at the break. We were talking about not just starting your business, but growing and maintaining your business. And Delsina and then Shay and Arlie, I want to talk about that as well. Delsina, you were talking during the break saying it's one thing to start a business, but contracts and so forth and business and customers will not fall in your lap.
No.
You've got to go out there and hustle and get them.
You have to hustle. It's it's hard work. Owning a business is hard work. There's no 9 to 5 in this world. You have to get out there and knock on the doors, go to events. Remember I said you have to be ubiquitous. You got to go to a networking function. Show up at United Negro College Fund is having a fundraiser later this month. Go to things like that. Certainly be judicious in what you go to.
Definitely.
And where you put your money, but things that that can assist you, where you can build relationships and maybe even volunteer and bring value to it. So you have to get out there and hustle. I've been in business 30 years, but I'm not working as hard in terms of getting the business, but still it's hard work to maintain it and grow that business. So you have to, once you get it, you got to keep that customer, keep that client by doing good work, bringing good value, and then they'll get referrals. But at the same time, you still got to go out there and raise awareness about who you are.
You do.
The young lady that called earlier that does the lashes, get out there beyond Norfolk State and go beyond your own race. Don't just network with Black folks. There's businesses all over in different hues. There are white business owners, there's veteran business owners, there's women of all colors. Network with everyone in terms of opportunities because they have a need. That's right. Last time I checked, just about everybody got lashes.
That's right, they do.
So network outside of your comfort zone. That's very important. So I go to Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. There's an Asian Chamber of Commerce. In addition to there's a Black Chamber of Commerce that was mentioned earlier. But there are other functions. There are business women organizations. They have a luncheon that comes up. Go to those kinds of things where you have your cards ready and be prepared to give your elevator speech. What do you do in 30 seconds or less? I don't need your whole resume.
That's right.
Just give me the highlights of things you've done and the type of service you have and maybe some of the customers that are already working with you now.
That's right. Absolutely. Arlie, how have you not only gotten clients but maintained them?
I've gotten clients for Peak of Joy 3D through social media. That is a big thing. Peak of Joy and Heart to Heart through social media, Facebook ads, Instagram, growing our email list, getting out in the community, going to the festivals and fairs, setting up booths. What haven't we done? Google ads, networking events. That's how we've gotten our customers, and we've maintained them by just keeping that relationship with them, following up with them, keeping them on our email list, just keeping them, in the loop. And
that follow-up piece is important because so many emails and so many feeds and posts and so forth, we see them, but we forget. But you've got to keep that going. One of the things I've learned is that you have to, especially on social media, you have to engage your customers.
That's right.
They send a reply. They ask you a question. You have to answer the question. You have to make a comment. And I've really, really learned that is so important because people want to hear from you because they asked you the question. Shay, how have you done the same thing in terms of your clientele?
Very much being online for me, because I have 2 small children that I homeschool, so I don't have as much opportunity to get out. So leveraging online presence and social media has been a really big thing. I make sure my website is optimized, and so I get calls from people who found the website that that I may not have otherwise had a chance to engage. The networking is absolutely important. I really want to speak to, too, though, when we're talking about sustainability in business, I think part of it is getting out there, but a big part of it, some of the best advice that I got was to have systems in place, because that's what will keep your business going.
And systems, you're referring to what exactly?
And so when I say systems, I mean having processes for knowing how your clients come in, the process they go through, what you do when they come in, what you do if they're just somebody who's interested, what you do if it's somebody who wants to use your services, what you do if it's somebody who's not interested, and do you still follow up? How do you maintain your books? How do you do your taxes?
Interesting.
These are all things, because some businesses close because they didn't have a good foundation. And so what
Absolutely.
I've learned is that you can have a passion, which is wonderful, and your passion might change a little bit. I've wanted to be a psychologist since I was in high school, and it's changed in subtle ways, but I'm still interested in brain behavior. I'm still interested in families and children. And so you have your passion, but if you're going to be a business owner, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you need to learn business. You need to know how to keep your business sustainable. You need to know you need to know how to reinvest in your business, how to put in for your savings, for your taxes, for things like that. And these are the things that I didn't know when I started, and so that's why I wanted to mention it, because like Ms. Miles was saying, it's really easy to start a business. It's almost like getting married. So you can do it easily. You go, you get the paperwork, and boom, you're a business. But if you're going to stay in business, just like if you're going to stay married, there's a lot more work involved.
Absolutely. And that's important that's important for people to know. 823-9110 is our number to call. And because this is Women's History Month, and we're placing an emphasis on female-owned businesses, I want to ask the question that sometimes you hear, and that is, are women, you were saying, Shay, that you have 2 small children, so there are some opportunities in networking events and so forth you're not able to go to. But is a woman business owner still expected to put her family first, or to ask the question, well, you have kids, or you have a husband, or you have a partner, or something like that. How are you going to run a business and you have all of that too? Where sometimes a man isn't asked that question. Well, you do have some children, and you have a wife or a partner or something like that. Can you do all of that? Shay?
I think it's more of an internal thing, that, as far as I've experienced it, versus what your customers are saying or what the world is saying. I think women feel that more internally. I have a lot of friends who are also entrepreneurs, who are also small business owners, and it's, okay, so how do I work and parent and run my household and homeschool, because I'm in the homeschooling community. So that's a really big piece of it for us is how do we do all the things? And so it's more about figuring out how to prioritize and manage your time and if this is the right time. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing, because sometimes we get the idea, or sometimes we get the, I'm going to say calling, because that's what it is for me. And you have to decide, is it the right time? Is your household supportive? So me and my husband work really well together because he's on board. So we switch off with the kids when I have things that I want to go to or need to go to. I have a really big support network. Whether society is asking or whether the woman is asking, I think it's a challenge that men don't have in nearly the same way.
In the same way.
Because there's not an expectation, and whether we consider it sexist, whether we consider it a gender issue, the reality is that if there are children, women are doing most of the work.
Interesting, even in 2019.
Even in 2019.
Delsina, how have you, over 30 years, created work-life balance?
There's this wonderful, powerful word in the English language called no. You can't say yes to everything.
Right.
When I was younger, certainly in my 20s, I did do that. But you learn over time that you have to prioritize. So with me, it's certainly family first. I have a great family support. So that goes without question. I couldn't do this without a supportive and loving husband. So shout out. I know he's listening, so shout out to you, babe. But that's important to have that. Go on vacations, take a break, walk away from the business for a minute or a week or so. Just take a break from it. It's the business. That's what I do. It's not who I necessarily am.
Right.
So there are all sorts of facets to me. And so I try to indulge in those facets, whether it's spending time at my church, with friends. I went to my college reunion and back in October, those kinds of things to de-stress, because it can be overwhelming. Because when I was younger, I worked myself to illness, and I said I'd never do that again. So that's part of maturing. So you just have to prioritize and learn to say no to some things.
And learn to say no.
I did say be ubiquitous, but manage that. Be judicious in your time. So if there's something you're passionate about, like I love the arts and education, so those are the things I tend to say yes to. Other things I may have less of a role. Maybe it's just a matter of writing a check, or maybe getting someone to go in my place.
Right.
But I've learned to prioritize my time and be more judicious with the things that I'm involved in.
Absolutely. Arlie, work-life balance for you.
So for me, in the early parts of my business, I was really, as I said before, I was doing it all. But I'd have great family support. So they were able to support me in the early stages in those first few years when I was really getting my business up and running. And thankfully, I've got my business to a place where I do have a staff, a whole team, where I'm able to just, work a few hours, during the day. I'm able to get my kids off to school, get them off the bus, have them in the afternoons. So my work-life balance has gotten a lot better over the years. Of course, it didn't start that way in the beginning, but, with a lot of family support and, I was able to reach that goal, because in starting my business, that was always the goal, was to be able to support my family and to have the most time with them.
And Delsina, you did mention earlier, and I want to come back to this a little bit, in terms of resources. I find that very important. And if there is someone who is just joining us, tell them a few resources. You mentioned SCORE. You mentioned a few others. And then other ladies, I'm going to ask you that as well, Arlene and Shay.
And these services are free. So SCORE is I forget what it stands for, but it's retired executives who donate their time to businesses who may need some mentoring or coaching, if you will, in terms of managing their business, growing their business. That's everything from, as Shay mentioned, setting up systems. So how to set up your accounting, hiring practices and policies, those kinds of things. There's also the Small Business Development Center. That's also free. And they will literally come in and have someone sit alongside you and just do an assessment of your business and help you to put those systems in place and assist you with implementing some of the things to help you be successful. Another one it's a state one, and I think one of the other ladies mentioned it, where you get SWAM certified. SWAM stands for Small Women and Minority Owned Business.
Very good.
And that's a certification that is issued by the Virginia Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity. It's a mouthful, but you can go to their website. So the Small Business and Supplier Diversity, and they provide training. They do workshops all the time.
All the time.
All this stuff is free,
Yes,
ladies and gentlemen, whoever's listening out there. So again, it's a Small Business and Supplier Diversity, and that's exactly what they sounds like. Anything related to doing business with, in this case, with either the state or the localities. All this free workshops. They will even have, which they pay for. They will have mentors come in and work alongside you as well, one-on-one. Because I've done that in the past where I was the person who went in and mentored someone. And so that was a contract I had with that agency at the time. All of this stuff is free. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So I really want to use this platform to put that word out there that there's services out there. There's help for you. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You're not by yourself. There are a lot of folks out there. You don't need to struggle unnecessarily because there are resources to help you, to assist you, and will take their time and be patient and compassionate in terms of helping you grow your business the right way.
The right way. Okay. Arlie, let me ask before we go to the break, Arlie, what about some resources that you perhaps have used?
Resources that I have used are, of course, I mentioned earlier, is Black Brand, is the local Black Chamber of Commerce. Other resources are podcasts. I definitely listen to podcasts all the time, and I listen to audiobooks constantly in the car. I am committed to personal development, so I am always trying to learn as much as I can. And my personal development can be learning about business. It can be in bettering myself personally. It can be many things. So, yeah.
And what about you, Shay? What type of resources perhaps you can share with our listeners?
I want to share ODU has the Women's Business Center.
Yes.
And so when I started, they had a course, but they are always having events. A good place to find business events, workshops, things like that, go to Eventbrite, search your area, and there's always something going on for free. Facebook, same thing. Look through the events. There's always stuff going on, and there's a lot of it, like Delsina was saying, it's available at no cost. And so those are a couple of the things that really helped me. And I did use SCORE as well.
And I find that information so valuable for our listeners because sometimes we say, I want to start this business. I don't have the money to hire a business coach or something like that. And what you ladies are emphasizing is that there are so many resources that you pay nothing for and you get important, valuable information. So have you used any of these resources? Give us a call, 757-823-9110. Have you been a business mentor yourself? And what other resources would you suggest for our listeners? 757-823-9110. This is Hot 91.
Is Hampton Roads Voices. Hot 91.
Welcome back, everybody. In studio, we have today talking about Black women entrepreneurs and the challenges of being a Black business owner. We have Delsina Miles, President and CEO of the Miles Agency, Shay Malone, Executive Director of Families for His Glory, Arlie Hatcher, owner of Heart to Heart Career Training Center, and Peak of Joy 3D Ultrasound and Spa. Now, ladies, right before we went to the break, we were talking about various resources, and almost all the resources, if not all the resources we were talking about, are free of charge, and there's so much good information out there. But let's talk money for a little bit. Someone obviously would need to know about funding. How do I fund my business? Delsina, I'm going to start with you. I need some money. Where do I find it?
This is a startup?
It's a startup.
Unless you have some real estate or some hard collateral, banks are probably not your best option.
Okay.
Though money's cheap right now, but banks are looking for collateral. Okay. They need to find a way in case things don't go right that they can snatch and sell and get some of their money back. That's just how it works. So if you have friends that will loan you money, certainly keep your expenses down. Don't go out and buy a whole bunch of stuff and go in debt Don't start off with a lot of debt. A lot of people use their credit cards. Family and friends may invest in their business, depending on the type of business it is. So if it's service industry, you might not need as much capital. But if you're into something like construction, where you need a lot of equipment and those kinds of things, or you are a brick and mortar kind of business like a salon or something like that, where you need to pay rent and buy and put furniture and things in there like that, get a budget. Let's start with the basics. Start with a budget. What is it going to cost you to start this business? What do you need? Absolutely have to have. What kind of technology? Do you need a laptop? Do you need a printer? Do you have to have office space right away? Probably not. Start from home. If you have a job, do not quit your job.
Absolutely.
So stay with that, because that's another way to fund it. You have to self-fund when you start up, and you're not a trust fund baby. And so unless you're a trust fund baby, you may have to save up. I believe one of the ladies mentioned have some savings involved. If you're married, then make sure that it's that you agree that that's what you want to do. You don't want to create any kind of barriers to your marital happiness. So make sure you have buy-in from there. But more importantly, weigh the cost. So take a look, get a budget, see what it takes. What do you have to have right away? Some things may be deferred. Maybe you don't have to go out and get all the equipment you need. Maybe you can lease.
That's right.
You can lease equipment perhaps. So there are all kinds of options and ways to do it. And then a lot of times a bank won't look at you until you don't need it. Like right now, I like the Microsoft model where you're debt free. So I like being debt free.
I love it. We have a caller on the line. Caller, you're live on the air. What is your name, please? And where are you calling from?
Varner.
Okay, Varner. Mr. Varner?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Varner, what is your question or comment, please?
All right, I have a question, and I'll take the answer off air.
Okay.
My question is, prior to the civil rights period in America, people of African descent, black people, we self-employed, and we had a higher rate of employment amongst ourselves and a higher rate of black-owned businesses. What was the impact that prevented us or reduced us to the situation now where we're trying to encourage blacks to go into business?
So you're saying at one point we did that very often, and now at that
was
point,
the norm.
Okay, and now at that point we have to encourage them. You should start a business. Perhaps you could consider that.
Right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Varner, for your question.
Thank you.
Dulcina, I'm going to throw that to you, and then Arlie, I'm going to come straight to you with that. What do you think?
The question is,
at one point in our community, it was the norm to have business, morticians, teachers, or...
Well, he did identify what that point was. It's called segregation.
Yes,
so we had no choice.
Right.
So we have fewer options. And so we did support our own community because we didn't have a lot of options outside of our community. But with integration, and I'm not saying I'm anti-integration, there were some benefits of it, but we lost something. We abandoned our communities to some degree in those black businesses. We had hotels, we had restaurants. Matter of fact, there were a lot of black businesses who financed the civil rights movement.
That's right.
Put up bail for Dr. King and others who were arrested for their tremendous sacrifice. So the timing, the political climate was different.
Yes, it was.
And the laws were different, and we had to be insular, where we had to depend on each other. We truly were a community. Now that's a lot different because there are more options, quote unquote options, if you will. Whether or not we stay at what hotel, what restaurants we go to, there's so many options. And with that type of competition, even with your regular mom and pops, not just the black community, the Walmart factor.
Yes,
a lot of small businesses get sucked up into that vortex of the Walmarts. Nothing against Walmart. Well, was one of the ladies said no more Walmart?
No more.
Well, anyway, for those who did not have a bad customer service experience, Kmart. They're out of business,
okay.
so she must have had an impact.
Right.
She ran them out of business. But what I was thinking is that we still need to support small businesses in our community.
We do.
I try my best to go to the local owned restaurants versus the chains, because those are the ones that are truly giving back to their communities. They sponsor softball teams and Little League and those kinds of things, and they support local charities and nonprofits. So it's important that we make a conscious decision to reinvest those dollars in our small businesses locally.
And we really have to think about it. I thought about the movie that just won an Oscar, The Green Book.
Right.
And in the South, of course, those were small-owned black businesses that allowed us to go and eat in those restaurants and stay in these places. And obviously it was under duress and under bad circumstances,
Right.
Jim Crow and so forth, but it did build something. It allowed us to build something.
That's right.
And create something of our own and give back to our community. And so those times were very important. So Arlie, what do you think in terms of funding? I know our time is getting short. Funding, any information in terms of how one goes about funding their business?
I think Ms. Miles makes some great points. In terms of funding, I know that many people think that it's just so important to just quit your job and go out and start that business. And a lot of times the answer is not to quit your job. Sometimes that 9 to 5 can fund your dream of being an entrepreneur. You don't want to completely get rid of your funding resource if your business is not at a place that it can sustain you financially. So that can be one of your biggest funding resources, is actually that 9 to 5 job that you're holding now.
Absolutely. Sometimes people think you should run off and quit your job and say, now I'm an entrepreneur, when you can actually, as you said, fund that. What about you, Shay?
For me, I wasn't working when I started my business. It's actually why I started my business, because I didn't want to go back to I just had, my first was still very young, and I didn't want to go back to work. But I did want to do what I loved. I did want to serve people in that way. And so when I started, Delsina was saying, you want to start with the absolute necessity. So you have to figure out what it is you need. So as a service business, for me, it was more about getting out, having that online presence, things like that. And those are things that are, a lot of that can be very low cost. I'm still at a point now, though, where I want to really start expanding. And so we were talking about events and the Black Chamber of Commerce. So next Saturday, they're having an Access to Capital meeting.
Nice.
Where they talk about how you can get funding for your business. So again, if you don't know somebody who knows, find somebody who knows.
Find someone.
Before you end up broke trying to start or sustain your business. Because
makes sense.
That happens a lot.
Okay. Now, I want from each of you, lady, I'm going to ask you to give us some final points, some final tips, suggestions, encouragements for our listeners. Arlie, I'm going to start with you.
If you are looking to start your business, just keep going. Don't be afraid of the word no. If somebody's going to tell you no, just hope that they tell you no quickly so that you can get to the next person that's going to tell you yes. That yes is right around the corner. Keep pushing. Don't stop.
The yes is right around the corner. So well put. Shay.
I'm going to say have yourself in order, your emotional health, have your support network, have yourself healthy so that because starting a business is a really hard thing on your mind, on your health, on your body. So have those pieces in place. Understand who you are before you go in.
Absolutely. And Delsina.
Well, ditto with my colleagues that just previously spoke. Follow your passion.
Wow.
Don't be afraid to ask for help. You're not by yourself. We mentioned several resources out there. Be very sure this is what you want to do. Right. Be prepared to make sacrifices, because that comes with the territory. There's no 9 to 5. You may have to work till 9, 10, or however many hours it takes to get it done. And you define what success looks like.
Wow. Love it.
Find that and then work towards what that looks like for you. That doesn't mean a big car and a big house. Just what does that look like? Does it mean that you are financially secure, you can support your family? Does it mean you can create scholarships to give to Norfolk State or other universities? What does that look like for you? And then you sort of can work backwards from there.
I love it. Arlie, how can they find you?
You can find Heart to Heart Career Training Center on Facebook at Heart to Heart Career Training Center, on Instagram at Heart to Heart CTC. Our Fast Track Career Training programs have rolling admissions. We have lots and lots of scholarship resources, so do not let money hold you back. If you need CPR or first aid training, we are the go-to for that. Please give us a call at 229-0919. For Peak of Joy 3D, you can follow us on Facebook at Peak of Joy 3D Ultrasound and Spa, and on Instagram at Peak of Joy 3D. The number is 757-345-5458. If you want to find out what you're having as early as 9 weeks pregnant, we are the ones to call. The accuracy is 99.6%. So come to us and we can help you find out what you're having.
Oh my goodness. Shay, how can we find you?
If you're looking for help growing babies or businesses, you can find me at Shay4HG. That's Shay, S-H-A-Y, the number 4HG. That's on Instagram, Facebook, and that is also my website. If you want to help or support families in the local Hampton Roads area, that's families, the number 4HG.org. Families for His Glory. We're also on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Delsina?
For the broke folks, use the free service. No, don't call me. Don't call me. That's just a joke. Okay. I can be reached at Delsino at the Miles Agency, DELCENO at themilesagency.com. Or you can call me at 757-499-9627. Public relations, marketing, community engagement, community outreach. That's what I do.
Okay. And Arlie, you want to make one other comment?
Yes, I forgot to put myself. So you can follow me on Facebook, Arlie Hatcher, ARLEIGH, HATCHER, or on Instagram at @theentrepreneurs_.
Wow. It had really been a fantastic conversation. We've been talking about Black women entrepreneurs. We've had in our studio Delsina Miles, President and CEO of the Miles Agency, Shay Malone, Executive Director of Families for His Glory, and Arlie Hatcher, owner of Heart to Heart Career Training Center, as well as Peak of Joy 3D Ultrasound and Spa. I'm Benita Adams, and it has been my pleasure to be your host. We're here every Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And don't forget, we rebroadcast this same show every Sunday, 12 noon to 2 p.m. You can also find us online. That is Hot 91 online. We are on Instagram. We're on Facebook. And we post all of these pictures. You want to know what we look like? You can find us on Facebook. Beautiful, beautiful women here today. And we're talking about being a business owner. Contact me, bkadams@nsu.edu. bkadams@nsu.edu. Again, remember, this is Women's History Month, and we're going to be talking about topics that affect you and your community. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week. The views and opinions expressed on this program are not those of Norfolk State University or WNSB-FM. Thank you for listening.